Welcome. This is Barry Jones from Angelic Wisdom, and we're here for our weekly Ascension Angel Messages for July 7th through the 13th, 2025. So let's just take a moment as we enter our first complete week of July, but it's really starting into the second week of the month. And just set your intention for whatever messages that your heart needs in order to feel whole, safe, and loved. And then take a deep breath. And feel your chakras open, wide, to receive the enlightenment that you need to fill and feed your soul and to spark your intuition, your instincts, and inspiration for guidance. And so I'd like to welcome you to this weekly series, and thank you for returning, and also to welcome anyone who is new to our Angelic Wisdom community. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you're subscribed, select the all notification bell, like, and of course, leave your comments. If during the course of this video you feel called to have an angel reading with me, you can go to my current website, theangelschool.com/services. You will find this link in the description area beneath this video. My office hours will be from Monday to Friday for the summer, 12 noon to 6 p.m. Also, if you would like to support my channel with a donation, you can go to my PayPal me link for Angelic Wisdom LLC. That link you'll find as well in the description area. And if you haven't checked out the monthly Ascension Angel Messages for July, I encourage you to do so. The first link that you will see will be able to take you to that video. Make sure you get this sort of understanding of the energies that are working with us in this month. So let's take a deep breath and just tune in now while your angels were preparing you for what you need. And what they keep showing me is a lamp. So when I see lamps, that's my symbol for enlightenment and high spiritual intelligence. And they write the word light. And I get a sense that it's about radiating your knowing, your inner knowing. And I don't know why they wrote the word rituals. So this might pertain to routines that just help you to feel very grounded and driven with purpose. And it feels like right now this is not a time for questioning. So this sort of feels like Also, the lamp could represent clear cognizance, just that clear knowing. And it's also, for me, the clairsentience is about trust. You know, it's the absence of doubt, and it's a pure place of excellence. They write. Many of us spend our energies wondering if we're doing the right thing. And if you find yourself wondering whether or not you're doing the right thing, you're not in the present moment. Now, I know, because I just felt that. And, as I heard myself say that, wow, we spend a lot of time not living in the present moment, because they write what you're doing is you're having arguments with yourself. That's what doubt is. Doubt is when you're not in alignment with your entire being, your soul, or your divinity, or the universe itself. And the reason for that word universe is because you are a universe of oneness and all that is the all. There is no such thing as the absence of anything that exists universally within you. Within you exists all that is, and the all that is the all. And if the all is the all, you are also that. And when we get into our guidance and we're thinking about, who's with us and who am I working with, you have with you all the universal teams and support. And as we know that in oneness, all is all, meaning there is no one separate from you. But what happens is that teams step forward, but they never step away. They just step forward to work with you, to help inspire you, the knowing that's already deep within you about your purpose and the path that you're on. And to spend time questioning whether or not you're doing the right thing, or if you're where you're supposed to be. And it's so interesting, the song, the Beatles song, All You Need Is Love, has these beautiful verses. It's sort of awkwardly said, but profoundly filled with truth. And the one line is, there's no place that you're, I can't remember the verse now. I don't have the time to sing it in my head to get it out to you. But it speaks to this same theme of you're always where you're supposed to be. So instead of questioning right and wrong, good and bad, all of this duality, because duality itself is doubt. It is the separation for doubt to exist. In oneness, there is no concept of this, nor separation, therefore no doubt. It is just knowing. And it's not premeditated knowing. There's just this trust in the present moment. And with that, the embracing and acceptance of the knowing that you have and that you need for that moment in order to proceed in the adventure of life. And I say that word adventure to imply the oneness of experience, which is the full gamut of our emotions and possibilities. And we feel that there are certain experiences and emotions that are not good, and those that are good. But they all prepare us to access what we need in terms of gifts and knowing, knowledge, and experience in order to be ready for the next big experience, meaning, or the next big adventure. We're looking for, typically, as we want to just keep trying to navigate the logic of duality, we want to find ourselves in one place or the other, in one existence or the other, as we believe they are. This is, of course, a part of the human experience, but a part of our ascension process is to not separate or divide, but to embrace each experience as an opportunity for fulfillment and wholeness. So, you and I often, I'm just saying the word transference or transferring, we're constantly transferring our power onto other seemingly individuals, circumstances, and situations based on the lens of our three-dimensional eyes and senses. And we project the doubt into someone else and make them responsible for creating that doubt within us when they are just, and the circumstance, the person, the situation, that it is all just a mirror to show us how we're navigating and to give us an opportunity to turn that off, not to get caught up in needing justification for allowing that discord to be a part of the experience. So, and rather than do this, they're saying just release it, accept the reflection in the mirror, and release all. That means everything that you think is outside of you, release it, release them, and release those things that you might want to go make the cause for you not being happy. And also letting go of this concept that we've also created as a definition of happiness. The way that we understand happiness through our three-dimensional mindset is just full of holes that never allows us to experience it the happiness that you and the success and all those great qualities that we've been sort of chasing, we can stop chasing once we accept knowing, our knowing, which requires us to start a practice, a ritual of trusting. And trusting no matter what. And trusting no matter what means I just chose this path. I'm never stuck because I can choose, choose, choose. Free will. That's the most basic way to define free will. Just choice. And you are free. Even though, yes, you may feel encumbered by obligations and responsibilities that might seemingly hold us accountable, but you must hold yourself accountable in a light-hearted way. Not to say you're trying to get out of something but lightheartedly versus heaviness is a very different kind of choice. These are two different paradigms of choice. And whether or not you are in either, again, you're where you're meant to be in order to heal, in order to grow and learn, and ultimately to overcome. It leads to overcoming, healing. But if you can learn to be more lighthearted in your accountability, then you'll see, for example, let's say you did something you feel is wrong. And it could be this could be equal if you did something wrong, or you're looking at some part of yourself and judging it as just not being good enough, wrong. And if you're heavy hearted about it, you won't be able to face anything. So, in essence, you're not taking accountability. You're going to end up creating more of what makes you feel ashamed or guilty. Notice I'm saying you, because that's the point I'm getting to. Whether it's something that you think that looks wrong or something you've done wrong, it's your perception that everybody else sees it the same way as you do. And if there are many who do, it's only because you are holding the vibration that is coloring the way you look to others. But they can only see what you are willing to see. They can never see more than that, because that is not real unless you hold it first. So if you are lighthearted in your accountability, you give this same opportunity to others as their mirror to be at a more readily and an accessible or available state of healing, of overcoming, of being able to release and to forgive and to find the joy, to find the opportunity, the enlightenment, the wisdom in your perceived notions about yourself. You have a choice to turn the light on or to live with the light off. It takes courage, they say, to turn the light on, to trust your knowing, to live in the present is the only way to live in this pure state of knowing, where your intuition is not something separate, your guides are not separate and over there, and that you're not waiting, or this concept that they're not speaking, or you're alone. The difference, I think, between being alone and feeling lonely is sort of like this understanding of doubt versus knowing. The lonely is like the doubt. Alone is just really sort of this state. One is sort of like the cause. Alone would be the cause, and lonely would be the effect of that. But this alone is the beginning also of the ego's illusion that I am here, you are there, your guides are over there, or up there, or wherever we think they exist. The all understands that each and every one of us is a cosmos, a universal cosmos of every soul, light being, and source. And the source is all of that. So when we were made in the image of the source, we were made in its complete likeness. The only difference is that we're in this human experience, this three-dimensional mindset, we cannot know that this is what we are. But it is part of our, or the biggest part of our purpose is remembering. Because once we remember who we are, we start to access this confidence that we're all seeking in our lives. But it must be first practiced by eliminating doubt. And I say that, like it's no big deal. It's a big deal. But we just need to get to the point, right? And I may have mentioned this to many people who've had readings with me, or probably said on these videos, but when before I started to do this work, my visions and intuition was just so, it felt more vast than it was for the work itself. And as soon as I had my first client reading, I don't know who the person was, but I never forget the way I felt, because I felt arrested with fear. Arrested with fear. It took me years to get over that. And it was through forcing myself to see clients and to do these readings that I began to understand the way my gifts work. It wasn't by thinking about it. It was by throwing myself into the pot, right? To the frying pan, just sort of throwing myself into the fire and doing it. and discovering. But I never forget the first thing I'm sitting there, first thing I see is letter T. Saw nothing else for the whole reading. I knew in that moment when I saw it, I knew it was trust. Why did I know that? And but I kept saying to my head, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Eventually, as that arresting fear became so frustrating, something one day came to me because I kept seeing parts of words. The way I got information changed from the way I did it before, where I'd see something clearer than much clearer than that. But this became a language, you know, and I would start to see parts of the word, and then I would go, is that really that? Is that really that? So one day it came to me to stop saying I don't know what all of this means, and to start saying I think I know, because I did think I knew, but I just didn't give myself permission to say that. And it led me to being able to just go, that's what that is. Yeah, that's what that is. And when I see a symbol, okay, that's what that feels like right now in this moment. That's what that is. Or it could be this too, or that. And as I'm talking, it just comes together. In our lives, we need to just start knowing what we know we want and stop fussing with that, and just say, at first, if you can't say I know, then say I think I know that's what I really want to do. Till you can get to the point to say that's what I want to do. And as soon as you're at that place, you're in the present and you're doing it. And yes, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be lots of stuff coming up against that feels like it's against you, but they want you to release that. Mirror. It's just mirrors. Release any other attachment to want to blame and accuse, so that you are not responsible and not accountable to what you've chosen. I don't care if it's an illness. I don't know if I'm going to remember this, but I was thinking about it for some reason, because there's so much going on right now with illnesses and people I'm around me, and I'm just noticing. And what I remember about this, and I think it applies to all things, in order to be present, we're where we need to be, or where we're meant to be, because we need to be, in order to become what we're about to, what's about to unfold for us, and to appreciate what you're learning through the process is such a rewarding part of it all. It's a way of, I'm going to say this first, it's a way of grieving appropriately. This is the best way I can say it for now. Or else the grief just surmounts. It just keeps getting bigger. And the thing that you're afraid of is the journey that you're on otherwise. You know, I looked back at my life and there were a whole bunch of regrets. We all have them in circumstances that you wished you never had to go through, and you blamed others for it, because that was the world that we all were told to accept. We were not told that these were mirrors. But the way to heal those situations, the way to release them, is to go through, because first the concept of is, if anything had ever been different, in your past, the wisdom and the strength of your soul as you know it now would not be that which makes up who you know yourself to be. And so I would never trade those things because I wouldn't want the way I feel and know my being, my soul. I wouldn't want anything missing from it. And that's the honest God truth. Like, I feel my heart would break if I could not be who I am. And that is not to say that I find total comfort in being who I am. Boy, I find so many faults. But as I was going through those circumstances and appreciating each and every one of them, as I was going through it, because I was realizing what it afforded me. I couldn't have seen it in those moments because it was painful, but I see it now because of the love I feel that exists within me, that is me. I love this love that I'm about and that life has caused me to be and to be about. And, you know, if you've been struggling with a health concern for such a long time and you've been working to get this thing out of your life, pay attention to balance that road, that part of it. Go back and balance it with the appreciation for what it's been, how it's been serving to make you who you are. That love that you know that you are, and that love that everyone is benefiting from. There's no greater purpose than what our lives has caused us to be, not only for ourselves, but for others. And there's nothing ever wrong with what you've done or been because of it. And being able to access this knowing, to trust, and to not worry by following your heart. Because you know that when you did it with doubts and you thought you were messing up all along, to see who you are now, and if you take it lightheartedly, you know it's not all that. It's just not all that. Because life keeps stepping in and shouldering us. We've seen the examples. If you've really been opening your eyes to your life in this way, you've seen that life has been shouldering us. All right, let's take a look at the Archangel that we're working with in this month, this week. And this is Archangel Zariel. It says, give and receive love, obey spiritual laws. I mean, that's really what we're doing with our lives. That's the purpose of our lives, right? It's not what you did, it's what you do with your life because of the things you learned from what you've done. All of it, the good and the bad, not in a separate way. They have to be, you have to have accountability in a way that is through equality. You have to see every part of your life, every part of the duality as a balance. And the Archangel Zariel works with the canine kingdom. as you can see. So you see these wolves there. And I feel like a huge part of being able to give and receive, as I see these canines, it just gives me a sense of trust. How they are just, within the angel's wings enfolded. And we have to think about how much the our pets, the canines, how much loyalty and trust they give to us that allows them to be able to give and receive. And they never hold it against you, this resentment. They have a kind of love that is loyalty. Can we be that loyal first to ourselves in the way that we give and receive of all that we've been and who and what it means to us? And being able to choose to love over and over and over again. Because a lot of our resentments and our regrets are really about not being able to love certain parts of ourselves. And that gets in the way or sort of erodes our intuition, our trust, our knowing, and being able to courageously act on it. It says obey the spiritual laws, but the spiritual laws are around you and you are aware of them. They're a part of your knowing. And that comes through that inspiration of your intuition. You know the right thing to do. You know it. But if you're doubting, having that argument about what's right and wrong to do, you're not present and you can't access the highest potential that you possess and that every circumstance could possess for you unless you do otherwise. All right, let's take a look at the first card, and these were laid out from left to right. So there is this attention to the outer experience, how we are presenting ourselves or giving of ourselves. But giving and receiving is the same point of access. So we have the Ace of Swords, and this sword is planted in the ground firmly. And that's a great sense of where we need to start in this week. We need to plant ourselves in the ground firmly and blossom. Or plant your sword, plant your truth in something that you see is blossoming, something that you see is already full of potential. Don't doubt the potential. So if you can't trust your mind, trust the circumstance, the evidence of the circumstance. That is to say, the way that it is growing, the way that it is impacting or influencing your heart or your soul or your mind. But don't be afraid. And let's see what this card is. I can't see what those numbers are. And they're reversed on one side. The 5. And this is that card for me right now where we're fighting with something within ourselves, right? And you might discover that you see an argument or conflict in everything around you. That's the mirror telling you that you're fighting with something in yourself. And that fight outside of yourself is just a distraction. So you don't access what you need to know. And when we get to know those parts of ourselves, the good and the bad, it just brings us right into that knowing. It just shifts us into a place of knowing, and we no longer act, can I say it this way, through the distractions. it's so twisted, right? We get caught up in distractions, and we can't act, and so our energy is so diffused that we feel depleted once it's done, and we don't have the energy to move on to the next thing, to move on to what we know. But we can find a way to to heal through that, to overcome through that process. All right, and we have the Queen, oh no, the Page, excuse me, of Swords. So what this gives me a sense of, and it's like it's almost feeling like it's something around the wands are typically around um, career and our beliefs and willpower. So the mind is fighting the will, so to speak, and it has been doing so. And the page is giving us a sense that this is something that we can learn from, and that it's a lesson um, that of knowledge that we can gain through this inner struggle. But she's confident, even though she doesn't have all of what she needs in terms of experience to overcome it. But it does imply that courage gives is a sense of trust, of this foreshadowing that it's already there, and that's what she's going to come to know. Her knowing and what she needs, the guidance, the skills that she thinks she hasn't learned yet, it's already inside of us. Everything that we do, and we found, some of us have discovered that we've been placed in situations that we didn't have the experience directly. But when we were thrown into that fire, it all came out of us. And that's why we need to believe in ourselves and to trust our knowing. And this cosmology of the soul that I was trying to explain earlier, you are complete. You are not an unfinished product. But the experience, the adventure of the Earth School is to provoke these awakenings of all that you will need through the challenges, the adventure of being in the Earth School. And when you think about it that way, you stop falling into those places where I'm just not this, I'm not, I will, oh, I'm just, that woe is me thing. And so notice what happens when you plant your sword, plant that idea firmly in the ground, paying attention to where you're planting it, and trusting that it will yield fruit and it will grow into an experience that you will find happiness from and fulfillment. Let's take a look at the card I've already pulled from the bottom of the deck. And this is the 8 of Swords. So what's interesting here is we see a hand and a flower, which is very different from the image where there's a sense of being trapped. But it does give you a sense of that this is something that is coming about by your own hand, right? And so we should never feel like we're stuck in any situation, because what is flowering around you, whether you like it or not, is being done by your own hand. Your willingness to tap into your knowing and to lightheartedly be accountable will allow the choice to sort of free or liberate you according to your form of accountability or your style of accountability, for lack of words for that, but you get what I'm trying to say. Trust that you are where you need to be. That's one thing, one way to be responsible, as they write the word responsibility. Let that be sort of a new definition of responsibility here. First, trust that you're where you're meant to be. Trust that guilt is separation, shame is separation. Learning, that lamp again. Enlightenment. That's if you're in a situation that you don't like, or you feel like you made a bad choice, and take responsibility by understanding I'm where I need to be. There's something here that is going to expand my soul and help me to access knowledge and gifts and skills that were laying dormant until and for this very moment of adventure. It's all adventure. And if I'm seeking freedom, this moment, these is giving me that chance. Now, by focusing less on messing up and focusing more on trusting that what I want is going to be right for me no matter what the outcome, because of what it's going to yield in terms of spiritual growth and development, leading to spiritual fulfillment and success, ultimately leading to a life that can express joy because it understands pain equally, pain and suffering equally to joy, that they are not separate but one. And that I can just choose lightheartedly to live more in the frequencies of joy, while understanding compassionately suffering and its purpose. So I know this is a really hard concept, and I know that the angels are going to work with more on this with us, because these are the ascension lessons to liberate us from the stagnation of suffering and lifting us up into these stages of joy and peace and harmony. But it's not a either or. It is just an embrace. The joy comes from embracing the all. I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and have a powerful, powerful week and a transformational month of profound healing.